Welcome to the SFL's 20th anniversary season schedule release. Along with Mike St. Green, I'm Cameron Irvine. We thought we were on the air a few minutes ago. We were not. Thank you, YouTube, but we are now. And the Super Chat, Mike, is rolling. Huge shout-outs to Dwayne Schindler, who had the first Super Chat of the evening. And I want to get to some others from earlier as well. Michael Percoco with the $9.99 Super Chat. $6.90 from Australia. Jacob Clear, $4.99. Frosty Times. Nicholas Frossel for Mayor, he says. $10 from Joseph Guy Clausen. MCV. $4.99. Lucas Devore. LFG, you know what that means. Denver taking over this year, baby. Bullet Boleski says there's a storm coming. $5 Super Chat. And Axel Raven with the $1.69. Welcome to Season 20 here in the SFL. Mike, it's great to be back here again.
Great to be back, Cam, and I couldn't be more excited for this season to get started. This is probably the most excited I've been, Cam, since my free agent season going to London in season 17. I'm truly looking forward to this season. Special Monday night events we're going to have coming up, as far as games on Monday night, prime time. Teams are going to get to shine all on their own on Monday nights. And, before I get too far, Cam, man, congratulations on 20 great seasons. 10 years. We've seen this thing grow from the grainy footage of, I think, season 1 back in 1930, New York Knights and, Orlando Intruders. I think I stumbled across that game this week. But, man, looking forward to the steps and progress that you've made to make this league great. And, season 20, we're going to celebrate it big.
Happy to be back with you another season, and way to spoil the surprise, Mike, but that's all right. I forgive you since we had to do the intro twice after all. Let us know how we're sounding, how you are hearing us, and making sure that everything is looking good over on your end. Pseudo, congrats on 20, Cam. We really appreciate that. And, as soon as we get that confirmation that we are all set and good to go tonight, then we'll get going. Type Attack, $11. Draft me, he says, Mike. So a couple teams need a quarterback, right? It's Queen City and one other, right?
Queen City and Denver looking for quarterbacks. I'm pretty sure, Type Attack will probably end up somewhere. If not, somebody's missing the boat, man. He's done it. He's been really a part of this community for the past couple of seasons, put in 2 great minor league seasons, and, man, somebody will be missing the boat if they don't get him on the roster this season.
Axel's $20. Let's talk about the legend, baby. We'll get to you. $4.99 from Adam Wiseman. # Ramble On. Indianapolis and Minnesota already going at it. Ray with the $10 Super Chat, and Harish Prasad with a very nice $6.69 in the Super Chat as well. All right, Mike mentioned it. Yes, go ahead, Mike.
Can I drop a hint about one of these great Monday night primetime matchups?
Well, we haven't even talked about Monday. People don't even know that we're having Monday night games. That's what I'm trying to get to.
That's how excited I am, Cam. I can't wait, man. Let's go ahead. Get to it.
This season, Mike St. Green and I will be calling a Monday night game under the lights every week of the season. We'll also be having a Thursday kickoff game. That is Thursday, January 12th, and that is the start of the season. We're going to have sideline reporters. We're going to have people in the studio. We're going to be breaking down all the games that happened over the weekend with a highlight show. We're going to have features from around the league, talk to the big stars of the week, talk to the biggest players that are going to be participating on Monday night games, and we're going to be doing that all season long, Mike. It is our celebration of our 20th season in style, and maybe that's why we're so excited.
Yeah, man, and as you mentioned on Monday nights, we're going to get back to some of the roots that we did when we first started this thing, far as being on and interviewing people and getting to talk to them and get to know people, up close and personal around this community, and that's what I'm looking forward to. One of the things I'm looking forward to the most, but I hope this broadcasting school that I tried in the offseason pays off with this analyst thing that I'm going to be doing this season, man. We'll see if it works out.
Well, honestly, Mike, when we lost Matt Wilson last season and Gerald Smith stepped into the booth to call games with Mike Daggs, and they hit it off. They became friends behind the scenes in the SFL production, and then they were able to start calling games together. And you and I have been in the studio now for 3 seasons, and I think we kind of got some inspiration from that. Let's give it a go together.
Yes, it's going to be fun, Cam, and I think it's been 4 seasons, man. Time flies when you're having fun. But, I think this is this is 16, 17, 18. Yeah, this is going to be our 5th season together.
Our little anniversary.
Yeah, our anniversary, and man, looking forward to it. We did All-Star game together last season. I thought that went well, and and hopefully the people won't get tired of seeing my face and hearing my voice, and we can have a great season this season.
Minute 472 with a $10 super chat. Gunny with $2. Alamo City Artillery hashtag boom. That's right. And 20 from AJ Hayden, $20 super chat. Thank you, AJ. That's mighty kind of you. Lucas Devore, the league is 10 years old. I was 13 then, he said. Dang. Michael, but you know what? I was too. That's exactly right. I was 13 as well. Michael Percoco, $5. So the S in MSG is for spoiler. I agree, Michael. I absolutely agree.
Hey.
So let's get to it, right? Opening night. Now, it's no surprise. It's probably looking like the Baltimore Vultures, the defending champions, the 3-time defending champions, winners of 4 of the last 5 are playing. But who are they going to be playing on opening night? Well, Mike St. Green, that honor in Season 20 goes to the Alamo City Artillery, brand new, refreshed team. The last time they played the Baltimore Vultures, it was in that championship loss as Baltimore captured the Season 18 crown. Alamo City gets to go back there to try and exact some revenge, and that is your opening night game Thursday, January 12th. What do you think, Mike?
Great matchup, Cam. Season 18, rematch. And I'll say this about Alamo City. They did a great job with this rebrand and for one simple reason. I see no remnants of the glory in this rebrand. It's hard to imagine that was the championship game matchup a couple of seasons ago, but did a great job with this rebrand, guys. I really like it. But going to be a great matchup because a lot of the same players are on that team. Ace Fennick is still there. Of course, the Cuban Missile still there. A lot of players from that great defense are still there. So going to be a great matchup. But one minus that we're going to see from that matchup is Lloyd Graham Jr. did not re-sign in Baltimore this season. That's one of the biggest names that we've seen leave that roster in 4 or 5 seasons now.
Mac Dre with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Mac. And it's going to be interesting to see how Baltimore comes out of the gates in Week 1 at the Las Vegas Convention. They pounded DC 26-6, and they really held them in check. But Alamo City, I got the feeling after that championship loss, they were that close, and they felt it. And last season, they made the playoffs again. No runner-up hangover. They did make the playoffs. They ended up running into Arizona, who went all the way to play Baltimore in the championship. And if they hadn't run into the Scorpions, you almost wonder how far they would have gone last season as a dark horse after they beat Mexico City that final game of the regular season. So the Artillery, show us what you got in primetime. Mike St. Green and I will be there, and our entire Monday night crew will be there for our Thursday night special. Wow. Skip with the $49.99 super chat. Can I get a oh yeah? Yes, you can. And Mike will give you one too if he's not so embarrassed for me. Alamo City and Baltimore in the opening kickoff game. Mike, final thoughts on this matchup?
Like I said, Cam, it's going to be a great matchup. Now, GZ Bacon, he's no, that's the wrong team. That's the wrong blue and white. But they are replacing the running back over there.
You did that on purpose, didn't you? You just trying to twist the knife in the
Brad Jones. Yeah, well, hey, why not antagonize these guys? I know they didn't like them choosing blue and gold, but now Brad Jones over there, man, he's coming over from once was a Houston Hyena, and then went over to Indianapolis, had a solid season over there with the Ramblers, and going over to Alamo City, replacing another great back in Ike McBride. So he's got some big shoes to fill over there, but he's had 2 great seasons coming out. He should be great stepping in and filling in over there with the Artillery.
20th anniversary season, Week 1. We have 5 days of games: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday night. Our first big Monday night matchup of the season, and that is week number 1, and that will be the San Diego Mavericks hosting the London Knights as Jeff Gagne, Benji Matson and company take on their former team in San Diego's home opener under their new leadership. London, San Diego, your Week 1 Monday night game. What do you think of the matchup, Mike?
Cam, up until a couple of hours ago, I didn't know what this matchup was going to be. A lot of the London Knights hadn't signed yet, but right there at the last couple hours. These guys got all of their guys under the on the roster and signed on the dotted line. So we're going to see the usual suspects outside of the guys that defected and went over to San Diego. And talking about rebrands and reshaping, I really like what they did over there as well. But yeah, Johnny Pickler, we saw Robert Merrill coming back, Fox Highway and Van Callia. These guys are going to be tough on offense. I'm curious as to see, being that they lost fullback and they only have one tight end on the roster at the current time, are we going to see the 17, 18 London Knights? Or are we going to see, season 19 London Knights? Are they going to start airing it out a little bit? Are we going to see a little bit more balance from that team like we saw last season? But it remains to be seen. But man, San Diego, what are they going to be under new leadership from Dave Axis and Charles Doherty and company? Who are they going to be over there? They've been an air it out team. Scar Patterson has been great, over 5,000 yards last season. Had great receivers over there. Who are they going to be? So it's going to be an interesting matchup from that standpoint strategically. But man, Benji Matson, Tanner Hendricks, I'm missing one. Gagne went over there. Going to be an interesting matchup going back and playing their old team that these guys have been with for several seasons now.
And week one it's a total anomaly. We know this, Mike. And what is San Diego going to look like? Is London going to kind of roll the ball back out there and try and repeat their successes and get back to that number one seed? Or are they going to show something different to these San Diego Mavericks? So that's going to be a tough game. A long way to travel as well, Mike. London all the way from San Diego for week one to kick off this season. 199 Super Chat from TJ Harper. The greatness is ready to transform the SFL. Can't wait to call your name on draft day, TJ. And Warhammer, that's Gabriel Manning, Mike. Gabriel Manning for Hall of Fame with the $2 Super Chat. He's looking to get into that next class. And so that's going to be interesting as well as we prep for hopeful 2023 SFL convention. John Fullerton, $4.99 Super Chat. If you need a wide receiver, John Easy Money Fullerton is ready for the SFL. Take note, SFL teams, John Fullerton there in the chat. All right, our week 2 primetime game on Monday night. Mike St. Green takes us to the South, but not the South Division. Takes us to the Carolinas, where the Carolina Skyhawks are going to be taking on the Charleston Predators in week number 2. This game is full of intrigue, Mike, after the free agency drops on Monday. Ike McBride is now your new running back in Carolina. Charleston's got 2 new running backs of their own, and they didn't even play running back last season. Saren Storm and Nick Hoagland in that backfield. A totally transformed offense for Charleston. Jay Hayden and Robert Cherry taking on some more coaching responsibilities there in Charleston. Carolina trying to get into the playoffs. They are so close every season. What are these two teams going to do? They square off in the first divisional game for both teams, Carolina and Charleston, week 2, Monday night.
Well, I'll tell you how big Keith Swearingen's shoes are, Cam. They have to get 2 running backs to fill them. So Saren Storm
That's true.
And Bill Cherry, they're going to have their work cut out for them filling those shoes over there, man. And they're going to have to grow into that position. We've kind of recently seen that with Robert Merrill in London. It took him a few seasons to grow into that role over there and become the back that he is right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how they approach things offensively over there. Charleston has traditionally been a big defensive team that's going to play a rough and tumble 15, 13, 17, 14 type game with you. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do over there. And I think for the first time in many seasons, Carolina, they're going to go with a back that's kind of a power back, because we typically see them with, small finesse type backs that get out of the backfield and receive the ball that way. So it's going to be interesting to see how they, put Ike McBride to work over there in Raleigh.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this matchup. It's always I love the games, Mike, that you know that these teams don't want to lose these games. They gear up for these games, and it's a lot of fun. So week 3 in prime time, Mike, you're on a cruise. Because this is what your wife loves to do to us. That's
tradition, Cam. We can't break tradition. I got to miss a week on a cruise.
That's tradition. So someone's going to have to take St. Green's place with me in the booth. I'm calling you out, Stephen Mullinex. Let's get the band back together for the 20th anniversary. Maybe a little Charles Doherty. We'll figure out what we're doing in week 3. But got to get the band back together. and got to go to H-Town while Mike St. Green is off. The Houston Headhunters will host the Mexico City Aztecs in Week 3 on Monday night in a battle in the South Division. New look Aztecs heading on the road to take on the Headhunters. Houston has always played Mexico City tough, and the South is always rough and tumble. What do you think of getting to host Mexico City in Week 3, Mike?
Well, I'll tell you what, Cam, this is a rematch of Week 2 of season 19, where Mexico City came to Houston in prime time, and we were able to win that game. But man, a new look Mexico City is actually going to feel different. No Mike Daggs, no Matt Wilson, of course, and Jordan Sipe. He's got some huge shoes to fill, as well as a couple other players that we mentioned earlier in this season. But he probably has the biggest shoes to fill of anybody. But no pressure, Jordan. But of course there is going to be pressure with that. I mean, because not only huge shoes, you're coming into a winning team and a traditionally winning organization. So a lot of spotlight is going to be on him, whether that's fairly or unfairly, to perform, and hopefully does an admirable job in doing so. But Mexico City has a lot of veterans back. We know what they're going to do. I think Phoenix Jones had tested free agency for a second there, but re-signed back. So they got Bentley and Phoenix back in that backfield. So they're going to be a tough team that's going to do what they typically do, hand off to those guys and pound it at you and hope to control the clock and keep you off balance.
Johnny Pickler with the $5 super chat says, I just had the massage of a lifetime. I'm not the same as I was in all the right ways. That's Johnny's words, not mine. And
did Johnny get a massage for $5? What, I mean, where is he? Thailand?
Sounds cheap to me, Mike. I don't know. That's very interesting. But you know what? We're full of characters in the SFL, and I know Johnny's going to be ready for Week 1. When London did he sign today, Mike? I just want to be sure before I say something.
Yeah, I think he's on the dotted line, Cam.
Okay,
you're
all right.
You're free to say it.
Then he's ready. Then he's ready for Week 1 against San Diego. So yeah, get all greased up, I guess, Johnny. All right, Week 4, we leave the division, Mike, and we go to a couple of teams that I feel like have something to prove. One is a former dynasty that is still trying to find their footing in the modern-day SFL, and the other is a team desperate to prove they are ready for the spotlight. And when they are in the spotlight, Mike, they always seem to perform. That is the Florida Storm traveling to Portland to take on the Fleet in week number 4. The last time Florida was in Portland was Portland's expansion season. It got ugly. But the last time these two teams played, Portland gave them a pretty good game, and Portland welcomes the Storm across the country and back to the shipyard in week 4 on Monday night.
Yeah, tough road trip across country for Mighty and the Storm to go over to Portland. And man, Portland, talk about doing a great job in free agency. They've gotten everybody back. These guys are not in the draft for the first time in their history. And Portland, can we finally stop waiting on you guys? I've been waiting on these guys for 3 season Cams to take that next step, get into the playoffs. They always seem to start slowly and try to claw their way and fight their way back in. Is this finally going to be the season that the Fleet can, break that glass barrier and get into the playoffs?
$10 super chat from Tyler Falk. Regardless of who goes 2-10, I'm just happy to be a part of this great community. Here is to 20 more seasons and 10 more years. And that actually is kind of fitting. 20 seasons, 10 years, and a 2-10 prediction from Tyler Falk.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand. Now, Mike, I just want to know who's going 2-10 according to Tyler, because that's all that seems to matter to me.
Well, I'm not touching that, Cam. That's Tyler's territory. We'll let him predict the 2-10 season this season, but I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
Jeff Banfield with a $5 super chat says Indianapolis Ramblers are the best team in the league. And then Mickey Malillo down a little further with the $5 super chat says still trying to figure out what a Rambler is. And you know what, Mike?
With that being said, Cam, can I tease this next prime time
sure.
matchup?
Go ahead. Yeah.
It's going to be legendary. That's all I can tell you.
Oh, Nathan Hall, $100 super chat. That's a super chat. Nathan Hall, we bow to you, sir. That is very, very appreciative from all of us here at the SFL. And Nathan Hall tried to steal the thunder this next game. I don't think that's possible because in week number 5, It is the Indianapolis Ramblers at the Minnesota Legend on Monday night in primetime.
Cam, these two teams obviously have only been around one season. But this rivalry rivals probably about any rivalry in the league at this point. Vice Wars, I think it takes a backseat to this one. And right now, Jacksonville is down. So the Florida-Jacksonville thing is not as hot right now. But, man, these two franchises and teams, they don't like each other. And I know it's all in fun. But, man, they've turned this into a great rivalry. And I'm looking forward to week 5 and seeing these two teams go at it. They had a great matchup this past season, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again this season.
I cannot. When we looked at the schedules a couple nights ago, Mike, and we went hunting for our games and tried to create balance on the schedule. Tried to get a lot of as many teams as we could possibly on there. Get as many great matchups on there. This was either first or second on our list. We said we're taking this one.
Yeah, we could not pass on this game. As soon as we saw that this was a matchup in week 5, no other matchup topped it. And we had to put this on prime time so the whole SFL world can see this game in prime time in week 5.
Now, this one is not far behind it, Mike, and it added another layer to it on Monday night during free agency. Jason France with $5 super chat, #StompIndy. It already begins, Mike. They are already ready to go for week number 5. But in week 6, a brother went over to a different team, and now they get to play each other in a very historical game, very important historical context. It is the Sioux Falls Sparrows for the first time since losing the Season 14 championship game to Atlanta, going back to the Hive and taking on the Swarm. Joshua Williams will be matched up against his brother, Jason Williams, who leaves Fort Worth and goes to Sioux Falls. 2 of the Williams brothers dueling at the Hive in a championship rematch for the ages in our 20th anniversary season, week 6 in primetime, Mike.
Interesting matchup, Cam. Actually, this was the first live championship game that I got the chance to experience and be involved with the SFL. Man, Sioux Falls was a great team back in 2014, and of course, Atlanta Swarm won the championship. Great team back then. They lost Marcus Dunhill right after that, after an MVP performance that season, and went on kind of a rebuild. They drafted Brian Dynasty. He's going into his 6th season this season. He's coming off of a great season, but Atlanta just could never get over the hump last season, Cam. It always seemed like when we thought they were going to take one step forward, they seemed to take a couple of steps back. But Sioux Falls, I mean, whenever someone would seem to count them out, because they had a rough couple of seasons back, made the playoffs, got out of the wild card round, and acquitted themselves nicely getting back into the playoffs in season 19. So it's going to be an interesting matchup in week 6. Will Atlanta be the Atlanta that we've come to know and love as a winning franchise? Will they be stable at that time, or will they still be struggling? But they'll be at home hosting, and we'll see how it turns out. But looking forward to a great matchup of rematch of the championship game of season 14.
And Sioux Falls made the championship game after that game. They made it back to play Baltimore. They won a playoff game this season. Atlanta has not won a playoff game since they won that championship over Sioux Falls, so that's going to be a huge one. Jeff Banfield, $5 super chat. We love everyone, just some less than others. #Stomp and Sasquatch. Axel Raven, $5. None better than Betty. Get some. I got a cool sticker from John Bond with the constant sunglasses over the game controller. $10 there. Thank you, John. That's pretty sweet. Super stickers are available there as well. Gunny, $23 super chat. Salutes all 23 members for the season 20 inaugural season of the Alamo City Artillery, and a good shout out there from Gunny and the Alamo City Artillery, who will be taking on Baltimore opening night of the SFL season. Skippy with the $9.99 at Nate. This is my house, and you don't want to get Skippy upset. She can be a wrecking ball out there. All right, week 7, prime time. This one, Mike, slipped a little bit under our radar. As we were looking through the schedule, we thought, oh, this is going to be a good one. Remember that quarterfinal game down in Louisiana where Reggie Streeter went ballistic? Well, they get to do it again. Remember when Louisiana and Vancouver started banging on the table against each other at the convention in Houston? Well, they get to do it again. first time since that playoff game, Vancouver goes to Louisiana. Week 7, Monday night in primetime. Legion and Revolution. Let's go.
I tell you what, Cam, traditionally we say, Louisiana, they're going to pound the rock at you and play a tough, tight game. But Liam Hammer just signed over there. And Utah, he's the quarterback. He's one of the highest paid quarterbacks right now.
Yep.
And so these guys, they may be bombs away this season. We don't know. But I tell you what, looking at this matchup right now, I expect fireworks. I expect another shootout like we saw in the playoffs a couple of seasons ago. And it's just going to be an excellent matchup, man. We couldn't pass up on it, and that's why you see it there on the schedule in Week 7.
Oh, I did see the Williams brothers were going at it. Josh, I have to scroll up to see, but Joshua said, or Jason said, Josh has to face me and my wife. Joshua said, "Good luck, bro. See you on the battlefield." At some point, Joshua Williams said, "I'm better." So yeah, they've already started that Atlanta Sioux Falls, but man, this Louisiana Vancouver, I'm hyped for this one, Mike. I mean, that Houston game was a classic, another shootout. Mike, the last 3 times these two teams have played, the losing team has scored 34 points. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Reggie Streeter was a part of that, and Johnny Pickle was a part of that team a couple of seasons ago. Louisiana, they were, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were a 2 seed, maybe even a 1 seed during that time, and they were kind of a favorite to go to the championship game. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe Vancouver knocked them off. You may know off the top of your head more than I do, but
Louisiana won that game.
Okay, Louisiana won that game, but yeah, no Pickler, no Streeter, no Tom Pepper. Christian Brown, how will he perform in his second season over there in Vancouver? He filled in pretty nice last season. It wasn't like he was a rookie. He's 2 or 3 seasons in the league at this time, but another season over there to get comfortable. I expect great things from Christian Brown over there this season.
That was the Louisiana Miracle season too, where they went all the way to the semifinals. They almost took out Baltimore, but Baltimore was able to advance there. So.
Yeah, right. Of course they did.
Yes, of course they did. That's a given. Week 8, 2 legendary coaches, 2 legendary teams that have meant a lot to the last 20 seasons of the SFL and hopefully 20 more. It's the Arizona Scorpions traveling to the DC Dragons in week number 8 of SFL primetime on Monday night. Not much more to be said about this matchup.
Yeah, Cam, week 8, we were looking for a matchup that was, kind of stand out to us and jump out to us, and this was the one that did it. Eddie Gage going up against DC, like I said, legendary coaches, legendary teams pretty much at this point. And man, I'm looking forward to the strategic matchup more than anything in this game. And how will Arizona bounce back, or how will they be at this point in the season? Will they still beat Arizona that was really, really tough down the stretch, or will they have some hangover like we were mentioning that the Glory could have possibly had now the Artillery going into last season? But how will they respond to their championship performance and the one that actually got away, as we know?
This is where Nathaniel Diggs got his start, too, and now he's all the way up in the GM of Minnesota, or Arizona, rather. B.J. Loveless, the former Arizona Scorpion, went over to Minnesota. But, yeah, Nathaniel Diggs going back to D.C. to take on the Dragons, and that's going to be a good game between 2 playoff teams from last season. So that is your Week 8 game. Week number 9 coming up in primetime on a Monday night. This is another rematch of the Houston Convention, which had some classic games in that one, Mike. And this time is the London night. We're going to be partying at midnight over in London, Mike St. Green, because they bring in the Fort Worth Toros, a wild game from that 2021 convention, and can't wait to see him duke it out again in London.
Yeah, I was a part of that game at that convention, Cam. It was a great atmosphere. We had about 5 or 6 London players in the house. I think we had about 6 or so Fort Worth players in the house, so it was a great matchup then, and I'm expecting another great matchup this time around. A lot of the same players will still be there. Slight adjustments from the Fort Worth squad from that time, but going to be a great matchup. This what teams are we going to see now? That's what always intrigues me going into a new season, especially when we see the personnel change up the way that it has for a couple of these teams. London, they've lost a few players on the backside of that defense that have been pretty solid. We haven't seen a name like Anthony Wayo sign on the dotted line yet. I know they lost Tony Roberto, if I'm not mistaken, at the linebacker spot, and Gagne, as a matter of fact, Jeff Gagne for sure. I'm not sure who else they lost over there. It seemed like they lost someone else in that linebacking core, and Tanner Hendricks in the back of that secondary. So how will they be able to fill those shoes? I think they did sign Mike Jones, and so it's gonna be interesting to see how they adjust defensively over there.
And off guard with that one.
and if I'm not mistaken, didn't I see Aiden Davis sign and come out of because he retired for one season?
I think so. Yeah.
Aiden Davis back over there in Fort Worth. So Fort Worth has always been one of those teams coming in, especially with the personnel they've been able to hold on to season after season, that they've always been a dark horse to compete for the championship. And second season over there for Dunhills. Let's see how they will be playing by this time in the season.
Dave Axis with the $10 super chat says, for Johnny to get a real massage. No excuses week 1. So, okay, Mike, if $5 is not a real massage, is $10 a real massage? What's going on here?
I don't know where these guys go to get their massages, Cam.
I think they go in the alley somewhere. I think that's what's happening.
I'll be DMing them to find out because, my shoulders are a little tight tonight as well, so I have to find out where these guys are going.
Oh, my goodness. Well, week 10 in primetime. This begins the SFL's flex schedule between week 10 and week 13. Now, week 14 is already flex. You're going to see a game in the last week of the season, just like in week 1. You're going to see 5 nights of SFL action. You're going to see a game on Thursday. You're going to see a game on Monday, isolated all on its own. And those games are obviously flex. But week 10 through 13, we get 3 flexes in there as well. If these matchups don't end up happening, if it just doesn't pan out like we think it's going to, then you may see your team in the last 4 weeks of the season if you're playing well. With that being said, we think we're going to get a great game out of this one because this team does not take the Vancouver Legion lightly, and they always want to see them go down. Los Angeles at Vancouver. A rivalry that will only happen once this season. And I talked to Rochelle Colston on minor league broadcast last night, and she is thankful for that because they've been playing Vancouver twice a season now, I think 3 seasons in a row. But L.A. and Vancouver, a battle in the Pacific Division, and Los Angeles could have a lot on the line in this one by the time we get to week 10.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that they will have a lot on the line. Los Angeles, they're never, that far away. It seems like they always right there to take that step, kind of in the same vein as Portland. But, Los Angeles, they have broken through since being out there in L.A. A couple of seasons ago. And then they just don't seem to catch a break. But in this particular matchup, Cam, they always seem to play well. They always seem to play. If they're not competing for a playoff spot, they're always playing spoiler to the Legion. So I'm looking for more of the same this season. Logan Jack, I think I looked at his contract. What is he, 126 or so? I think. I know whatever it was, it surprised me. I'm like, man, they're really paying him heavy this season to perform. And I'm looking forward to see what the Legion put on the field. And hopefully, as you mentioned, we won't have to flex this game and we'll get to enjoy this in prime time in week 10.
Man, it's going to be good. If you're going to pay Logan Jack, you better get him going. You got to get that yards per carry up, got to get that offense flowing because we know that L.A. loves to run the football. It's just a matter of how consistently can they do it this season, and we're going to find out in Season 20. Week 10, L.A., Vancouver. Not sure we're going to have to use our flex on this one, Mike. It's hard to imagine that we would ever need to flex this game. Week 11, back to Baltimore, Arizona. The championship rematch, the latest championship rematch on a schedule in SFL history. Arizona at Baltimore. The stakes are high late in the season. Where are the 3-time champs? Where are the championship game runners-up? And how badly will Arizona at that point want to beat this team? Week 11, Monday night in primetime.
Yeah, actually, Eddie will have revenge on his mind in this game, no doubt about it. We probably just witnessed one of the, greatest, for at least drama-filled championship games that we've ever seen in this league. And somewhat controversial, some people would say, but we kind of got it figured out as to, why that call was made, and we've deemed that it was the right call. But, it's a tough pill to swallow in overtime in the championship game, to see your team pretty much lose in that fashion. And as you mentioned, man, it would be hard to imagine that we would have to flex this game out. I'm pretty sure both of these teams will be right there in playoff contention when week 11 rolls around, and I can't wait to see this rematch.
Johnny Pickler with the $10 super chat. Chad's first career game as an owner was a loss versus me. Looking forward to you having the same fate, Dave. Just be sure to invite me on Access Live afterwards. I have a feeling that that may be debuting in week 2 then, if he doesn't, or week 3 if he doesn't want to see Pickler on the show. London and San Diego, that's going to be a lot of fun. So will Arizona and Baltimore on a Monday night. Oh my goodness, it's going to be super exciting to see that championship rematch. Week 12, not far behind. Plenty of intrigue around this game every year, every season. But this season is a little bit extra, Mike, because this quarterback went to his rival. How many times do you see that in the shocker of free agency? Eric Price leaves Denver to goes to Vegas, and Vice Wars, baby, hits us in week 12 in Sin City. And, I'm curious to see where these two teams are going to be. Neither one of them made the playoffs last season.
Yeah.
But in week 12, this game could mean a whole bunch to a whole lot of people, and we know no matter what the records, it's going to matter to these two teams.
Yeah, and don't worry, Cam. I'll have my shades on for this game to be able to see all the action, and filter out all that fuchsia and bright colors.
Oh, come on, man.
Wear,
looks good.
that these teams wear. I may take that week off. I don't know, man. All that fuchsia and pink and whatever else they wear. I don't know. Name what else they wear. Some neon
light blue
stuff.
And black. Yeah.
But yeah, man. Vice Wars, who cannot, get excited about this matchup? And yeah, man. What went into Price going over to the rival like that in division, huge rivalry? Was it like a, hey, man, I'm going to get back at Denver type thing, or is it just happen to be one of those things? But I'll tell you what, it's going to be an intriguing matchup one way or the other, and I definitely hope that we don't have to flex this one out, and hopefully these teams are doing well. But I would rather leave this one right where it is, that both of these teams are winless at this point, because that's what type of rivalry that this is.
We'll see how you feel about that in week 12 if they're both winless. You say, remember what I said in the beginning of the season? Yeah, I think there's another better game on the schedule. But that's not going to happen because it's Vegas and Denver, and we know those teams are going to win some ball games this season. Week 13, this is a wild card for us, Mike, because we really didn't know what to do with Week 13. There's a lot of interesting matchups across the schedule, but we'd be remiss if we didn't try to see if these two teams are doing something at the end of the season, and that's the Canton Classics and the Queen City Corsairs. A ton of buzz around both these teams. Canton won 4 of their last 6 games to end their inaugural season, and Queen City's got 2 new old owners. They've got Michael Irvine, my dad, and James Klein, the former owner of Carolina, now a part of that Queen City staff. You've got a game in, I don't know, what is that, early March against the Canton Classics. Should be beautiful weather, maybe a little winter hanging on, who knows. It could be a big divisional game in the North for both these teams, as both try and take the next step. Queen City back to dominance and glory, and Canton trying to possibly do something for the first time in franchise history and make the playoffs.
Yeah, intriguing matchup right here, Cam, especially at this point in the season. Like, as you mentioned, where will these teams be? Will Canton, second year in, a very veteran roster over there. They've done some great things with these first couple of, first season in the league. And as you mentioned, making progress towards the end of last season. Where will they be at this point in season 20? It remains to be seen. Queen City in somewhat of a rebuild, restructure, however you want to look at it over there. Don't have a quarterback on the roster as of yet. Early on or late in season 19, we had kind of gotten word that Jet Zero was going to retire. I was really happy to see him sign back on the dotted line over there. At least they kept that continuity together. And it's going to be interesting to see how they fill out the remainder of that roster in free agency and the draft, to see if Queen City can get back to somewhat of respectability and a foothold as to being the great historic team that they are in this league. I'm looking forward to seeing them bounce back.
Axel Raven, $2 super chat says, "What wars?" It's hashtag Stop Indy, hashtag Monsters vs. Machines, trying to bury Vice Wars as the league's pinnacle rivalry. Dave Axis, $11 chat donations to get Johnny an assistant so he'll actually make it to the game on time. The week 1 chat is alive and well. Calvin Chisholm, $25 super chat. He says, 25 on black. We going back to Vegas, right? We'll see about that, but that sure was fun. And we also have Lucas Devore with the $2 super chat. I'll be keeping an eye on Eric. I want that pick as Eric Price goes to Vegas taking on Devore and the Nightwings. One side note, Mark Chisholm said, whichever broadcast team does Vice Wars, by the way, Mike and I are doing all these Monday Night Primetime games except the week 3 he's on the cruise. They should dress up on cam like Crockett and Tubbs. Now, I'm guessing you're going to understand that reference. Is that a Miami Vice reference, Mike?
I didn't watch that show, Cam.
Wow, a pop culture reference that you don't understand.
I just knew the guys used to wear like a fuchsia shirt and a white suit or something.
He's saying maybe we should do that for Vice Wars when we're on camera. What do you think?
No, that's too 80s for me, Cam. I don't think I could pull off the white jacket and slacks and shoes and all that stuff. I may have to 2K it up or something. I don't know. We'll think of something by week 13, week 11.
We tried. We tried. Sorry. All right, let's get to the team schedules now. Axel Raven, I did remember, put a $20 super chat in earlier. Said let's talk about those legend. So we'll get to them after Baltimore, but make sure you don't put that super chat in too early because if it disappears, I may not see it. So
and here's the thing, Cam. If you want to be first, hey, knock Baltimore off and you won't be first, and you'll be first.
That's true. If you want to be the first schedule on the schedule release show, be the champ, and we'll talk about you first. That's Baltimore's honor, and here we go. Baltimore starts in Alamo City, as we know, but they got a couple of tough games after that on the road at Mexico City and at D.C. They followed it up with their first divisional game in Week 5 against Charleston. Down the stretch, Baltimore has that Arizona rematch in Week 11. They host San Diego in Week 10. That's going to be an interesting game with the Mavericks. Week 13, Mike, they go to Vegas. Baltimore has not gone to Vegas since the first time they played Vegas when Vegas blocked 3 punts and beat Baltimore 31-30. They end the season hosting D.C. Your thoughts on the Baltimore schedule?
Baltimore, they better have their thing together earlier in this season, Cam. They have 5 tough matchups coming out of the gate. Alamo City, as we mentioned, in Week 1, then Mexico City on the road. We know Mexico City is making some adjustments. DC on the road, which is always tough for them. And then I see that Houston matchup in Week 5. That's a tough matchup for them. It's going to be a tough matchup on the road as well. Houston has quite a bit of their roster coming back and looking to make a name for themselves in season 20. So tough 4 or 5 games out of the chute. And then you see Fort Worth in there as well. I can't see if that's at home on the road, but yeah, that's going to be a tough top half of their schedule for Baltimore.
So that's a look at Baltimore's. Now I gotta call you out, Mike, because you totally set yourself up for this when you were talking about if you want to be first on the schedule, you got to beat Baltimore. Minnesota was the only team to beat Baltimore last season. Totally, they killed you in the chat. What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, they may have won the game, the battle, but they didn't win the war, Cam. The war is the championship. Win the championship and get these guys out of there, then you can be first.
Minnesota legend up next. Let's take a look at them. The legend take on the Portland Fleet in Week 1. That's the Evo 9X Bowl. The 2 teams getting going with their apparel with that company. So Minnesota hosts Portland to start the season. They have that game against Indianapolis in Week 5. They have a bye before going to Florida. That's an interesting matchup in Week 7. That Week 4 through 7, Mike, that at Vancouver versus Indy, the bye at Florida stretch, that's a really interesting stretch for Minnesota. They end the season with home games against Jacksonville, Louisiana, and then they're at Sioux Falls to wrap things up. Your thoughts on Minnesota?
Yeah, and by the way, Minnesota, one of my favorite brands coming into expansion last season. Man, you guys did a great job over there, and you're continuing to do a great job. But man, yeah, tough. I mean, and I'd hate to get into the easy schedules, hard schedule thing, but you just know, looking at these matchups, Portland, LA, Sioux Falls, a playoff team, Vancouver playoff team. Then you got your big rivalry game in Week 5, and of course Florida, another playoff team. So And then even go further, you see Seattle down there. It's going to be probably much improved this season. Not going to be an easy, sledding for the legend coming out of the gate in season 20. Their work's going to be cut out for them to perform early and get a leg up and see if they can make another playoff run.
And for expansion teams, these matchups are all new. Minnesota's never played Florida. Minnesota's never played Atlanta. These Minnesota's never played Seattle. These are matchups that we didn't get last season that we're going to get this season, and so that's a lot of fun. All right, who's next? Who's next, huh? Who's next on this schedule release? That super chat in, and let's figure this out, Mike. Who do you think should be next?
Didn't somebody do like $99 or something like that?
Well, that was Nate Hall earlier. I don't know if that was for Alamo City or not. He didn't tell me. Skippy says for $5 these graphics are hot, and you know what?
Let's just take a guess that it's Alamo City.
All right, well we could do that. We could. I think Nate with the largest super chat of the night deserves that. Let's go a little Alamo City artillery to start. We already know that Baltimore is going to be involved in week 1, and let's see what the rest they got. They got Fort Worth in week 2, a divisional game. They end the season with Houston. Late bye for Alamo City. There are 2 teams that have a week 2 and a week 13 bye this season, which is pretty unique. So we'll see what Alamo City can do with that. And then what do you got? Tough stretch at D.C., at Mexico City, weeks 4 and 5. That's pretty rough. They do get London at home down the stretch. But, what do you think of what Alamo City's looking like in their first season in San Antonio?
I think it's a good balance for Alamo City, on this schedule. Of course, a tough matchup at Baltimore. Baltimore never really, loses at home. Only 6 losses in history over there at home for Baltimore. And then you look at Fort Worth. That's going to be an interesting matchup for sure because of the rebrand and of course, of battle in the South. And then, Charleston kind of rebuilding and restructuring, reshaping their roster over there in week 3. And then another tough matchup against D.C. that's on the road. So they have to travel to the East Coast and play D.C. and Baltimore over there on the road out of the Atlantic. That's going to be tough for them coming out of the chute 2 of the first 4 weeks.
Now, it's my turn to get roasted in the chat because Nate Hall doesn't play for Alamo City anymore. He plays for San Diego. And to that I say, stop changing teams. There's too many people changing teams. We can't keep up. There's 700 of you. Stop changing teams. But look, Alamo City gets a gift then. They get their schedule a little early, and we'll go to San Diego next, right, Mike? But, I mean, goodness gracious.
Let's go out west. Let's go out west.
It's impossible. Let's go to San Diego and see what the Mavericks have. Sorry, San Diego. San Diego's got London week 1. We already knew that. They also host Queen City in week number 2. First road game at Motor City in week 3. Denver is their double up in division week 7 and week 14. At DC week 13 late in the season. They also play at Canton off a bye. But oh boy, Mike. Week 9 and 10. Don't shoot the messenger. At Arizona, at Baltimore. It doesn't get tougher than that.
Hey, Cam, look, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. I've heard that somewhere along the line. And one question for Nate. What's his call sign, Cam? I've been seeing all this call sign stuff. Who is he, Viper or Sniper or something? I don't know who he is, but all these call sign things, man, I think that's pretty cool what they're doing out there. And but yeah, week 9, week 10, Arizona, at Baltimore, back to back. You don't get any tougher than that. The 3 times the defending champions and the runner-up. By this time, we're probably going to know who the Mavericks are, what type of team they're going to be under the leadership of Dave Axelson and company out there. Where will they be in week 9, week 10? Will they be able to compete and put a competitive product on the field that can win some games out there and get things turned around in that Maverick organization?
We will find out, and that was a lot of fun back and forth. That was nice.
Nate is Bones.
Bones. Okay, that's good.
Call sign Bones.
I like that. All right. I thought we had our next team, but I had. Go ahead.
Call sign would be if I was in San Diego.
What would your call sign be?
Yeah. What do you think they'd call me?
Receding hairline. How about that?
That would be accurate.
Hey, I can say that because I'm graying. I've been graying for like 10 years, so I get to say that. Going back up in the super chat, we had a $4.99 super chat from Adam Wiseman, #RambleOn. So we get to see the Indianapolis Ramblers next. We know they got Minnesota in week 5, but they get Florida week 1. And the Storm going to the Snake Pit. Week 2, Indianapolis at Tulsa. That's their division double up. And then a battle of expansion teams with Seattle in week number 3. Buys land in week 6 and week 11. What do you see out of Indy's schedule?
I tell you what, every time I see that green horse in the middle of anybody's schedule, I just think tough matchup, because I knew what it was like to prepare for that team last season. 5-7, but they were one of the toughest teams that I felt like us over in Houston had to prepare for all season long. Louisiana's going to be a tough matchup for anybody, and that's right there in the middle of that, right before that rivalry game against Minnesota. That's going to be a tough matchup for them before they can get to Minnesota.
Also worth noting, Indianapolis has a 3-game road trip, and it starts with Louisiana. They got at Louisiana, then they got at Florida. They get a chance to regroup in case things go south, and then they go to Portland in week 7. So that's going to be it's going to be challenging as well. Hubba Kimbrell with the $4.99 super chat with Las Vegas. At least I think so. Let's go to Las Vegas and check out the Fury schedule. They get Queen City in week 1. It's been a while since the Corsairs and Fury have done battle, but remember, they had that classic playoff game where Vegas went to Buffalo and upset the Corsairs, so that's going to be good. At London in week 3, off of a week 2 bye. Vegas with some early byes, week 2 and week 8. Vegas, that Baltimore home game in week 13. They actually have 3 of their last 4 at home, but it's tough. Versus D.C., versus Denver, versus Baltimore. You got Vice Wars wedged in between a couple of the top teams from the Atlantic Division. And then, of course, at Arizona, the last week of the season, they're double up. Also play the Scorpions week 6.
Yeah, I'm looking at the back part of that schedule, Cam, as you just mentioned, the early buys, and then they get 6 weeks in a row that they're going to have to prepare for these games coming down the stretch. And then, man, no tougher stretch than the last 3. They have Vice Wars, and you have the champs, and then you have Arizona, man. It's going to be a lot on the line weeks 12, 13, and 14 for Vegas, and they're not going to really have a break in between to kind of, recharge their batteries. There's going to be 6 tough weeks of grinding and getting ready for the home stretch.
So Arizona knows their week 6, their week 14 opponent. They know that they're playing Baltimore in week 11. They know they're taking on Fort Worth in week 7. What's the rest of Arizona's schedule look like? It's skinny. $5 super chat. Zona next. You are correct. Arizona takes on Canton week 1. They host the Classics. Tough draw for Canton out of the gate. Then at Denver, West rival. At Queen City, man, I'm really excited for this. We will not be calling this game, Mike, but super excited for this one because Nathaniel Diggs taking on his former team, but also Queen City has bit Arizona twice at the buzzer the last 2 times they played. That's another Houston Convention rematch, but Arizona at Queen City should be a lot of fun in week 3. I know that Eddie is going to want to get his revenge on the Corsairs. That game has always been difficult. Bye in week 7 and week 12. Before they take on D.C. and Charleston, respectively. Arizona also at the Dragons, but they do get the London Knights at home. They get Vegas at home once, and they get the home date to start the season as well. What do you think of Arizona?
I kind of like this opening to the season for Arizona, even though, like I said, Canton, they got some things going for themselves towards the end of last season, but they weren't a playoff team. Denver, we're not a playoff team. Queen City, not a playoff team. Motor City, not a playoff team. So these guys, if you could start off a season with 4 teams that are, looking to find themselves, this is a good spot for Arizona to be in. I know they're not going to take anybody lightly, and nor should they. But, you couldn't ask for anything better to start the season against teams that are still looking to, improve upon last season and make it to the playoffs. So great opening schedule for Arizona to get a leg up in that division out there.
I was going to ask you, Mike, I was going to ask Dave Axis with a $5 super chat for Cam to get updated rosters. And I thought, why? What does he mean by that? Is that an Xbox firmware joke? Is that coming back or whatever? And then I realized, the Nate Hall thing, of course. $5 to get updated rosters. Yeah, thank you, Dave. I'll put that towards that fund. I appreciate you, buddy. Wow. Let's see. Brandon, I believe this is one of the super fans for Canton. I'm going to try to get this name right. Brandon is a sinner. That's what it is. $78 super chat Thank you so much, Brendan, and thank you so much for being a Canton Classic fan. He wants Canton's schedule next, and we're going to give it to him. While I'm getting that all queued up, how you feeling tonight, Mike? You feeling like this is going well? I think this is going pretty well.
I'm feeling pretty good, Cam. I'm feeling, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and
Yep.
rested and ready to go, man.
I'm feeling the hype. I'm feeling the hype for Canton, who just refreshed their branding. I love it. I love the old.
Yeah.
I love looking at the Hall of Fame in the background. Ken, excellent job on the retooling of that brand. They open at Arizona. They'll take on Queen City in Week 13 on Monday night if that does not get flexed. And then, they got some good ones. They got the Battle of the Dog Bone in Week 2 with Motor City. That is their home opener. They also get London twice this season for finishing second in the division, Week 4 and Week 14. Canton has buys Week 5 and Week 9. And they take on Mexico City on the road as well, Week 8. That's a tough game, including 4 straight games, against the South, Mike, which is always difficult. Canton and Queen City, the only 2 teams in the SFL that finish the season with 2 divisional matchups.
Yeah, this is a tough schedule for Canton, like I said, especially playing the South. All 4 teams in the South made the playoffs. One tough trip down to Mexico City, and then another one later in the season going down to Fort Worth. But yeah, it's not going to be easy for them later in the season, especially playing London on the road there to close out the season. But I'm looking forward to that Dogbone Classic. What are they calling that, Cam? Is it an official name for that yet? I don't know, but Motor City
Battle of the Dogbone, Golden Dogbone, I think.
Okay, good matchup there. Looking forward to that and seeing and once we get to Motor City, seeing what they look like this season. And they seem like they still going to employ the 3 tight ends, but they put some things together with the 3 wide receivers that's going to make it like, what are these guys really going to do over here this coming season? They seemed like they were coming out of the chute with it last season, made it work, and then kind of, fell off, and we kind of didn't know what they were. And we kind of thought they were going to scrap it when we saw Guy Clausen move over to wide receiver, but they're gonna try to do some different things over there again this season.
Nate's such a boss. His 99 super chat or his $100 super chat, I don't think it's going to leave there in the chat. And I'm getting some confirmation potentially in the chat that Brandon is bread. Canton's bread. The guy in Discord.
Okay.
So hopefully that is correct. Bob Funk with a $5 super chat. Let's see Canton, and he got his wish as well. All right, Mike. Well, while we're waiting for a super chat, why don't you give out a freebie? Who do you want to see next?
Oh, you know what? Let's stay in the South. Let's go Mexico City and see.
Oh. I was already preparing Houston because I thought for sure you were going to take the bet. That's all right. We'll go Mexico City. You are a team player, and the team of Matt Wilson should get to see his schedule anyway, right?
Yeah.
All right, Mexico City next in the South. They start at Carolina. This game is of importance, Mike, because Matt Wilson really his big claim to fame is the game that put him on the map. 7 minutes to go. Down 2 touchdowns, won the game for Mexico City. That was against Carolina. A new era begins for Mexico City against Carolina with Jordan Sipe. That's at Carolina in Week 1. Then Week 2 is a doozy. Mexico City, Baltimore. Really looking forward to that one. They also play D.C. at home in Week 6. They have a bye before taking on London in Week 13. That's a little bit of an advantage for the Aztecs. Fun fact about the schedule, almost all of the bye weeks are shared with your next week's opponent. So there is no longer that constant built-in advantage of, they're on a bye and we're not on a bye and there's a disadvantage there. Almost all the time, the 2 teams that play the following week do share a bye. So that is something that was built into the schedule as well. Down the stretch, London and Fort Worth. Mexico City, Mike, actually plays Fort Worth 2 times in the last 4 games. That is the closest together at the end of the season that a double-up occurs in a division. Your thoughts on Mexico City?
Well, we kind of, touched on Jordan Sipe earlier in the show. How is he going to step in and what type of pressure he's going to feel over there? But I'm pretty sure Ramos Lynn is going to do a good job of getting these guys acclimated to one another and acclimated into that locker room and what he expects over there from Jordan Sipe and all these guys that's coming in filling some huge shoes that they have to fill over there. And two of the first 3 weeks. Really the first 3 weeks, when you look at the road game at Carolina and a road game at Houston, and then playing Baltimore, at least they get that at home. But a couple of tough matchups coming out of the shoot from Mexico City to try to, get their feet, on the ground and get adjusted to the new surroundings.
It feels like that first game's Carolina's chance, right? I mean, Mexico City's got a new quarterback. It's a start to a different era. I'm sure the team's going to play in passion, but Mike Dagg's also retired as well. So. Yeah. See if Carolina can steal one from Mexico City in week 1. And if they do, the Aztecs could be off and stumbling in the early blocks because they do have a pretty challenging first few games. Joseph Clausen, $10 super chat. Bring up the Motor City schedule. Your wish is my command. Motor City V8 start with Denver. This is the first time, Mike, that Motor City has ever hosted Denver. Ever. It's crazy. St. Louis never hosted Denver. I mean, it's just a wild turn of events in the schedule. So finally, Motor City gets Denver at home. Then they'll go to Canton in the dog bone game. They finish with Queen City. They also play them in week 6. Bye weeks in week 7 and week 12 before they take on 2 South teams, Alamo City and Fort Worth. Tough stretch there, weeks 8, 9, 10. Actually, 11 too. You can throw in there. Throw in 13. If you're counting at home, that's 5 straight playoff teams. A really tough back stretch for Motor City when you throw London in there as a divisional game in that spot.
Yeah, tough 5-game stretch there. And then I also go all the way to week 14, Cam, that Battle of the Cities there, Queen City. Where will both of these teams be by that time? Would that be a big matchup for a playoff spot? Will both of these teams get things turned around? What will that battle mean in week 14? I'm looking forward to that one as well.
They play all the cities. They got Alamo City in week 8. It's a city fest out here, and so that's a lot of fun as well. If you're keeping track at home, the divisional rotation schedule still stands. If you didn't play a division this season and you didn't play them last season, you'll play them next season. That's as the world turns lesson for the night. So you can kind of take a peek at season 21 too. But anyway, I digress. $1.99 super chat. Portland Fleet says, let's see Portland. All right, then. Portland Fleet at Minnesota to kick things off. We already knew that. But they host Jacksonville in week 2. If memory serves me correct, they played an overtime week 1 game back a couple seasons ago. That was a thrilling game. And then at Los Angeles, I also think, if I'm remembering correctly from my notes, Mike, it's the first time Portland's gone to L.A., even though they've been in the same division all this time. That's never happened. So Portland's heading to L.A. before they welcome Florida on Monday night. They finish the season pretty tough at Louisiana, at Sioux Falls versus Vancouver. Your thoughts on Portland?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, about every time you see that green horse on the schedule, that's going to be tough for sure. And, man, what will that second Vancouver matchup mean late in the season? But week 2, that stands out to me the most, Cam, and you probably didn't realize this looking at the schedule. O.J. Bruin. He's going to be going up against the team that drafted him. Going all the way back out to Portland to play the Fleet. Played a couple of seasons there. He decided to move on to Queen City. Now he's in Jacksonville, and we're going to see how he performs back in front of the team and fans that he played for 2 seasons.
Obviously, Bruin got to play Queen City in a rematch game, got to play Portland in a rematch game last season with Queen City, but this one may hit a little bit different going back to Portland. Skippy $1.99 super chat says, "Show me the good, baby." I think that's a spelling error or a grammatical error. I don't know what it is, but either way, I love that you gave $1.99 and tried to put Nate in his place, even though I see his super chat up there and not yours. But whatever. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at Carolina, Mexico City week 1, Charleston week 2. We already knew that. Week 3 bye along with week 8, and then they hit the tough stretch in the South. They host Fort Worth at D.C., at Alamo City versus Houston. They end the season with a couple games at Denver versus Charleston. They got at San Diego thrown in there, Arizona and Baltimore late. but there's some winnable games there for Carolina. See what they do. What do you think of the Skyhawks schedule?
Yeah, Cam, they better make some noise in that 5, 6, 7, 8 range right there. That's going to be a tough stretch, as you mentioned. 4 straight playoff teams. Kind of 2-2 at home and on the road, so no imbalance as far as that goes. But their season will probably be made or broken right there in that 4-game stretch. And then, man, you look down there at the bottom, they have Arizona on their schedule as well down there towards the end. So going to be a tough stretch for, tough sledding for Carolina. Will they finally, they're kind of in that Portland range for me, Cam. When they finally break that glass ceiling, get past 6-6 and make it into the playoffs? Because of course, I think we know now it's kind of established. Hey, you better be better than 6-6 if you want to make it to the playoffs.
Ike McBride could be the secret sauce, and Ike McBride's got plenty. That's something we haven't talked about yet. Week 6, Ike McBride goes to Alamo City. That's the Lone Star Glory from where she came from. Mm-hmm. And then San Diego take on the brother-in-law, right? The Charles Doherty at San Diego in week 11. I want to make sure I get that right, or I'm going to get roasted on that again. Is she his brother-in-law? I think she's his brother-in-law. I'm trying to remember. It's getting late out here. It's been dark. It's been dark for a while now. Jacob Clear, it's late or early or something in Australia. 169. He wants to see Charleston. Thanks for the super chat. And there's the Charleston Predators schedule. Houston, Carolina, Alamo City out of the gates. But that's a tough stretch early. 3 of 4 on the road. 3 games on the road against playoff teams. At Alamo City, at Baltimore, at Fort Worth. Things get a little lighter down the stretch. They do get D.C. and Arizona at home. And they finish off with at Carolina to end the season. Mike O'Neill left Charleston to go to San Diego. They get a revenge game there in week number 8. Your thoughts on Charleston?
Charleston's been kind of a work in progress the past 2 seasons, right, Cam? I mean, they changed ownership and changed up a few things last season, but now, Mike O'Neill's out as DC. They're bringing in Jay Hayden as head coach. They're going with a 2-back system, switching guys over from receiver to running back. So don't know what to expect from them on the field, but we know what they typically do. They're typically going to play great defense. They're typically going to play you tough and tight. I don't know if they're going to change up philosophy. I kind of expect them to. I really do. Jay Hayden coming over from Arizona. We're going to see what he learned from Eddie over there over the past couple of seasons and see what he brings to Charleston and see if he can make a name for himself over there.
With that running back committee, you kind of have to, right? You got to change some things up. And speaking of Jay Hayden, week 13, Charleston hosts Arizona. That game could be for a lot of marbles. And Jay Hayden going to want to win that game after leaving Arizona to get a higher position somewhere. People got to move on. They got to advance, just like you, Mike, co-owner of Houston now. What a shocker.
Yeah, well, it's a shocker that anybody wanted me to own a team. I mean, but yeah, man, you just when you get an opportunity to move up in this league or move on, you almost have to take it. And I'm pretty sure Eddie, let Jay go, with his blessings and no hard feelings. And I know he's going to be rooting for him every week of the season, other than their week 13 matchup when they face one another. So, man, congratulations to Jay. I've had a couple opportunities to talk with the guy. Great guy. He's committed to the league, and I'm pretty sure he's committed to the team and that job. And I think he's going to do well over there. Frank
Gooden, $10 super chat. Also says Emmy-winning filmmaker in his byline there on YouTube. Very nice, Frank. The Kings had it down. Go ahead.
Let's see the Kings, man. Let's see the Kings. The 1-5 is back this season, Cam.
The 1-5 is back.
The 1-5 is back this season. So, man, let's see the Kings.
Now that could mean a lot of things, Mike. But what exactly do you mean? I think we're going to need a bold prediction out of what Mike St. Green's going to do this year.
What I'm going to do on the field? Hey, I did not feel like myself last season, Cam. I didn't look like myself wearing the 1-9, and so hey, man, I had to go back to the 1-5 and
there you go
and get some things done.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I just felt like I needed to get back to the 1-5 and feel more and look more like myself.
Frank with the $10 super chat. The Kings had a down season. Not happening for season 20. Let's see the schedule, Cam and Mike. Here's the Jacksonville Kings. Jorge Torres, the new general manager over there. Kings trying to right the ship. They're going to start with Sioux Falls. That rivalry goes way back in week number 1. And they open up the division with Louisiana week 3. A weird week 3 and 4 division game back-to-back. Very unusual on the season 20 schedule to see back-to-back divisional games like that, but they get them in week 3 and week 4 out in the East. And then the battle for Florida in week 10 against the Florida Storm before a bye leads you into a tough last 3 games. At Minnesota versus Vancouver, at Louisiana. See what they do with that. First matchups ever against Seattle and Indy as well, both on the road. Your thoughts on the Kings season 20 schedule?
Well, we kind of went from one team that's kind of been, in flux over the past couple of seasons, really and truly, to another one, Cam. Changing quarterback again this season. O.J. Bruin, I think he's going to do a great job stepping in over there. And once I saw that he was a free agent and that Jacksonville was looking for a quarterback, I was really hoping that he would, that would be one of the spots that he could have possibly ended up. And I think he's in a great spot. But what is the rest of that roster going to look like, Cam? We see no Jared Willis. We see no, the other Willis that plays the receiver, Grayson Willis. What is this team going to look like offensively in particular? Because it's totally different than season 15 when I was over there, and even a couple of seasons ago when Marcus Dunhill. It's totally different. We see Kingston Ellington back, but what is this Kings team going to look like offensively? Tyquan Hale still over there on defense. He's a mainstay, but it's changed and turned over so much in the past 5 seasons. I'm just curious what they're going to look like, but I'm pretty sure Frank's going to have these guys, well prepared. He does a great job of game planning week in and week out, and I'm pretty sure who's ever over there, it's going to be Jacksonville's always going to be a tough out, as they typically are season in and season out.
Battle of Purple in week 6 for purple supremacy too. Please, Frank, wear white on the road. Please don't do anything crazy. We don't need that. Week 6, Jacksonville at Seattle. $2 super chat from Dave Axis to bring to Cam's attention the Skippy paid $50. That was forever ago. That was at the beginning of the show, and it wouldn't be a show if I did the oh yeah and all that stuff. Don't you remember? And it wouldn't be a show if I didn't give Skippy a hard time. Don't give 50 more. Mia's got to eat, and we'll be over that. All right, so 141 people at the moment. No super chats on tap at the moment, so Mike gets to pick again. Mike, who's the lucky team that you want to see next?
Well, why not Houston, Cam? I know Damon's anxiously waiting to see.
He's probably upset you gave him Mexico City earlier, man.
But I was curious about Mexico City. I'm sorry, Damon. But yeah, let's see what Houston has this season, Cam.
Houston Headhunters made the playoffs last season, got Houston back on track. And this is how they start. Charleston, D.C., and at home against Mexico City. They get Alamo City twice, week 9 and 14. That bye in week 13 for Houston is also shared by Alamo City. So they both get a bye going into that final game of the regular season. Baltimore is the week 6 matchup. D.C.'s the week 2, but Houston gets both at home. They also get London at home, the only team in the South to get those 3 on their schedule at home. Your thoughts on season 20?
Well, Cam, of course, the Atlantic Division is going to be a tough division to play for anyone, in particular, everyone in the South, and that's us, and Houston included. But there's a huge but in that. We get D.C. at home, we get Baltimore at home, and then you look at that week 3 matchup against Mexico City in prime time. We get that one at home as well, and then you look at another, the number 1 seed from last season, London's at home. So if nothing else in this schedule, tough matchups all the way around. But at least a lot of these games are going to be at home for the Headhunters, and we look to take full advantage of all those home games, Cam.
You better go take advantage of those teams on the road, or it could get quick. It could get quick down in that loss column. Lots of big home games there for Houston. All right, no super chats, so I get to pick now. Mike, let's see reverse alphabetical order who we have not talked about. Hey, how about Vancouver? Vancouver's still trying to get over that hump, trying to find themselves. And got Christian Brown coming back. That was big. They open up the season at Tulsa, at Seattle, and then home against Atlanta. So 3 teams that didn't make the playoffs. Solid start for Vancouver. And then Minnesota comes a knocking in week 4. That's going to be fun. Week 7 in primetime at Louisiana, but then at Florida right after that in week 8. They finished the season at Portland. We talked briefly about Portland, Vancouver earlier, Mike, the first time those 2 teams play a double in division after Portland finished in 2nd place last season.
Yeah, looking at this schedule, Cam, Portland, we believe they're going to be a tough matchup, but right out of the gate, Tulsa and Seattle on the road, two teams that didn't make the playoffs last season, but Tulsa's been tough over the past couple of seasons. Seattle, they're bringing everybody back, and I don't think Seattle's in the draft at the moment, but these guys got people to buy into what they are doing over there in Seattle, obviously with the players that they've signed. So 2 tough games, on the road out of the gate. That's going to be pretty tough. But 4 of the first 5 against non-playoff teams, and 3 of those are at home. So Vancouver could really make some hay early in this season. Only thing I wish, Cam, can Andy get some stripes on that uniform? I don't know.
You like one of his alternates, I believe it's the gold lids. You love that uniform.
He finally put one uniform in there that I like, but I think I'm going to do my own personal put my own personal revamp in for Vancouver and send it over to Andy and see if he likes it.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what he thinks about that, and I hope that he says something on social media so everyone gets to see what he has to say. But maybe that'll fuel the Houston-Vancouver rivalry for next season. Did y'all play Vancouver last season?
No, we did not.
So
we played
that means
the West and the East.
Well, there you go. That means Vancouver, Houston. You can book it for season 21. Ray Colston in the chat, $20 super chat. Let's see LA. Okay, Ray got it. LA, the Lycans. We're excited about the primetime game at Vancouver. They follow that up with a bye before going to Florida in week number 12. But LA starts at Louisiana, and before their home opener against the Minnesota Legend. They actually have 3 straight at home, weeks 2 through 4 before a bye, and finally going to Tulsa. That means they have a 3-game road trip on the back end of the schedule at Jax, at Vancouver, at Florida with a bye sprinkled in there. They finished the season with 2 expansion teams from season 19. What do you think of LA?
The first thing that stands out to me are the first 2 games are, we're going to see some tough defensive games, I think, coming out of the gate with Louisiana and Minnesota on the schedule. Because LA, they like to play the tough games. They play the tight games. I don't know if they like to, but it just seems to always turn out that way. But it's going to be interesting coming out of the chute for them. Can they make some noise in those first couple of games against Louisiana? I almost called them LA, but Louisiana and Minnesota, and then Portland, the back door of that. So a couple of division matchups early in the season with them and with Seattle in week 4. So they can probably make some noise into the Pacific if they can get some things to bounce their way early on.
At least you didn't call them Louisville. I've done that too many times to count after the Wolfpack were in the league. So yeah, Louisiana, LA week 1. That's going to be fun. Very underrated matchup there. Going to be exciting to see those 2 get together. Michael Prococo saw his Legion. Now he wants to see that DC Dragons schedule. And that is true. The Dragons, they have the toughest schedule in the league every year, Mike, by default, because they always got to play Baltimore twice in that divisional alignment. They get them week 3 and week 14. They got them week 1 and week 14 last season, and they get them at home early. That is actually DC's home opener. They go to Fort Worth and to Houston to start, and they start the season with 4 teams that made the playoffs last season. They end with a couple of teams from Vice Wars, San Diego, and Baltimore. DC's schedule, what do you think about that? The bye before the Arizona game that we have on Monday night.
Yeah, tough schedule, Cam, as you mentioned, because, Baltimore is right there squarely in the middle of it. But that also tells me this is where their season begins and ends with Baltimore. Can they finally, beat the Vultures at least once to put themselves in a better position and possibly win this division, or at least ahead of them in the playoffs? And that's going to kind of be my personal theme going into this season as a whole. Who can possibly knock off the Vultures? I mean, I know I saw some chat, since in the offseason where T-Pat, I think he said they've been fortunate to win the championship, 3 times in a row. And I believe he's right, because there's been a game or a play or something along the way in the past 3 seasons where it could have possibly gone the other way. But who's going to finally step up and take advantage of a mistake or a play to be made. And we'll see if it can be DC. And they made great strides last season. We'll see if they can make one more stride and become Atlantic Division champions this season. But it starts and ends if they can beat the Baltimore Vultures a couple of times.
Yeah, it's tough to imagine, Mike, that you can win the Atlantic Division without at least splitting with Baltimore if you're the DC Dragons. You got to at least get one to give yourself a shot. So we'll see what DC can do week 3 and week 14. Well, let's call this the $25 super chat from the Superstorm. Bullet Boleski says, have Storm will travel. Let's see which cities will be getting a storm warning cam. And the $20 super chat from Stephen Black says $20 for 20 seasons. Props to the league for what y'all do. Here's to 20 more. Unleash the storm. I will. There's Florida's schedule at Indy week 1. They host Atlanta week 2, a huge divisional matchup between two great buddies, Mark Chisholm and Max Paul. Then Florida welcomes Tulsa, heads to Portland, and then hosts Louisiana. A lot of bad blood from season 19 in that Eastern Division rivalry. A bye before Minnesota and Vancouver. They finish the season off at Atlanta. Your thoughts on Florida's schedule?
Yeah, that Atlanta matchup stands out, very brightly right there. Division matchup. These teams, as you mentioned, Atlanta hasn't won a playoff game since season 14 championship, but Florida, they've been right there. They've been one of those teams that Baltimore was talking about. That hey, one play here or there could have gone the other way. Florida could have easily have lifted their 4th trophy a couple of seasons ago, if not for a great play by, I think, Giovanni Bolt to drag down Bush on a breakaway play there that could have gotten them the championship. Florida's still right there. They're not going anywhere. Some of the names have changed a little bit, but they'll be right there competing, Cam. I don't see anything different over there. A couple of tough matchups when you look at Vancouver and Sioux Falls. We talked about Sioux Falls earlier with that matchup. Indianapolis, man, that's a tough way to start their season in their second season, having to host Florida. But I think Florida's going to be just as difficult as they've always been. No changes there. Tough matchup. Play great defense, and going to be a tough team to beat all season long.
What's crazy about that Indy home game is week 1, Mike, Indy hosted London, and at the time, so they host London, right? So who cares?
Mm-hmm.
But then London went on to become the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Now, if Florida goes to Indy week 1 this season, and they go on to become the number 1 seed, well, now you kind of want to go to Indy in week 1. So we'll see.
Well, if that happens, Cam, put Houston at London. Put Houston at Indianapolis season 21 opening week. If that happens, happens this season.
Oh, that's funny. Marco Swift, I'll give you points for creativity just this one time. In the chat, $5 million for the Tulsa schedule. If only that was real. But you waited an hour and a half, so I'll give it to you. Tulsa versus Vancouver in week 1 versus Indy week 2. So 2 home games to start the season for the Desperados. The counter to that, they finished with 2 on the road. At Atlanta, at Indianapolis. Of course, they finished the season with that monumental victory over Sioux Falls that ended up being for naught because they couldn't squeeze into the playoffs at 7-5. That rematch is in week number 5 off the bye. They also get Minnesota off the bye, so 2 divisional games off bye for Tulsa. Let's see, they also got Jacksonville, Louisiana, Portland, kind of in the middle of the schedule. A lot of teams that are trying to move and shake their way through that middle part of the standings.
Yeah, the Central Division, Cam, it just kind of hit me. It's kind of a sneaky, tough division when you look at it. Sioux Falls made the playoffs. Minnesota made the playoffs. Indianapolis, I'm pretty sure, I know they're well coached and well ran. I'm pretty sure they're going to be right there competing this season. And Tulsa themselves, they always are right around that, get in the playoffs, or right around that 6-6 mark. I just expect it's going to be a tough sledding over there in the Central. I'm looking forward to all these matchups on the schedule between Minnesota and Sioux Falls and Indy a couple of times, and just to see who's going to take control of that Central this season, because I just got a feeling that anybody can win it just out of the gate right now.
That's a look at Tulsa's season 20 schedule, and I think the Central, the most underrated division in the league last year. I think people were sleeping on it because they had a couple of expansion teams, but it was big. All right, let's go rapid fire, Mike, as we wrap up the program here tonight. Let's stay in the Central Sioux Falls. They go Jacksonville week 1, Louisiana week 2, Minnesota week 3. They end the season with a couple home games against Portland and Minnesota, and 3 of 5 on the road there in the middle of the season. But overall, pretty balanced in terms of home and away for Sioux Falls. In fact, they don't have a single double up at home or on the road except at home to end the season.
Yeah, that's a good way to end the season, Cam, but because those are going to be some tough matchups, particularly against Minnesota and Vancouver's, swamp sandwich in between Portland. And as we mentioned, we'll see what Portland's going to look like by week 13. That could possibly be a flex game come week 13. We're not sure.
Seattle Nemesis, the purple and bright green. They go to Atlanta week number 1. They end the season with Los Angeles and Florida at home. We've got Indy in week 3, the bye before Portland and Jacksonville. What stands out to you about Seattle's?
One is the roster, Cam. I really like what they were able to do in retaining the players that they have retained, and a couple of the players that they were able to bring in. Doug Day over there has done a great job as a GM over there. So Seattle Nemesis has done a great job of retention and keeping guys, on that roster. But of course, the division matchups over there. Can they make headway in that division? Can they get better than a couple wins that they had last season? How do they match up against Vancouver? How do they match up against LA and Portland? It's going to go a long ways to seeing what type of season they're going to have in their second season of existence.
Queen City, new look, new attitude for the Corsairs this season. A little slow out of the gate signing players, but they're getting things moving now. They start with 2 games out west, at Vegas and at San Diego, before hosting Arizona and Denver. Their first divisional game is not until week 6. That is the latest in the schedule for any team to start a divisional schedule. Queen City and Motor City week number 6. They also get at London week number 7, so they play their 2 divisional road games back-to-back. 4 games against the South on the back half. That's going to be tough for any team, including 2 straight on the road at Mexico City, at Fort Worth.
Yeah, tough for a team that's kind of, rebuilding and restructuring right now. The way that they're going to come out against Vegas, San Diego, and Arizona, they're going to be put to the test early. So, man, hopefully these guys can get some guys on the dotted line and get that roster built and see if they can get back to the glory days of Queen City.
Down in the bayou of Louisiana, the Revolution open against LA, then go to Sioux Falls. They opened up with Sioux Falls a couple seasons ago in a week 1 matchup that Louisiana just dominated. It was so Sioux Falls is going to be looking for revenge on that one. Then they go to Jack's week 3 to open up the division. They too have both divisional games on the road in the first half of the season. They host Atlanta and Jacksonville on the back half. Louisiana has had Atlanta's number for a long time. That game is in week 11, and on top of it, Louisiana gets a bye to start. We'll see if Atlanta gets the bye as well on the other end of that, but your thoughts on Louisiana?
Yeah, one game stands out early is that week 3 matchup against Jacksonville. That's probably a good time to catch Jacksonville right now. They're trying to get things figured out over there. And Louisiana, man, they lost a lot of games that they were on the cusp of winning last season, Cam. Yeah. But this is still a great team. Like I said, tough to prepare for. So, no one's going to want to see this team on the schedule. I'm glad they're not on our schedule again this season. The East, Florida, Atlanta, Louisiana. You never know which one of these teams are going to, or even Jacksonville historically. I don't know what they're going to do this season, of course, but Atlanta, Florida, Louisiana, anybody can win the East out there. In Louisiana, they've always been right on the cusp of winning a game all of last season. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see them bounce back and make the playoffs this season.
How about those London Knights? We know they're at San Diego week 1. They're one of 2 teams with an early week 2 bye. They also have a bye in week 8 before they take on Vegas and Fort Worth at home, respectively. They've got Canton twice, and they've got the South down the stretch, 3 in a row against the South, and 3 that is also involved in a 3-game road trip at Motor City, at Alamo City, and at Houston on that back half before they come home in a huge game. Week 13, we thought about it, Mike. It could be flexed. London hosting Mexico City. Where are they going to be at in Week 13 with these retooled rosters?
Yeah, great. International matchup. We kind of thought we would possibly get an international championship towards the end of last
Yep.
season. If
Could have
things
happened.
would have worked out, but London, can they keep this upward trajectory that they've had over the past 3 seasons, making the playoff 3 seasons in a row, #1 seed last year, only losing one game. That was to Motor City. I want to say that was the last game of the season, kept them from a perfect regular season. How will they respond this season? Will they be able to maintain the momentum that they've had over the past couple of seasons and put the finishing touches on what I know that they wanted to do from season 17 on, and really putting London's name on the map as one of the teams to beat season in and season out.
Atlanta's next because people think they know me. Atlanta, Seattle week 1, at Florida week 2, and at Vancouver week 3. That's a tough back-to-back road stretch there for Atlanta early on in the season. They get Florida again in week 14. But down that stretch, Louisiana, Indy, Tulsa, the bye, not full of teams that made the playoffs on that back half of the schedule for Atlanta. They could do some damage late in the season.
Yeah, but can Atlanta put 2 weeks together? That's kind of was their theme last season. Once you thought Atlanta was going to break out, they have a great game, and then they would come back, and lay an egg, and that's kind of the way their season went, and it showed. That's why they didn't make the playoffs last season. Can they put weeks back to back together with good solid performances where they take care of the football, score points, and the defense plays well, which it typically does? Can they do that this season? And if so, they can get back to the playoffs and try to finally get that next playoff win since winning the championship in season 14.
Always looking forward to that Atlanta-Louisiana game. They got to get over that, not just 2 weeks together. They got to get over that Louisiana hump too. It kind of reminds me of the Arizona-Vegas thing, right? Like, yeah. Vegas is just something about them. They've had Arizona's number for quite some time. Louisiana-Atlanta is the same way in the division. That's going to be a huge one late in the season, week 11. Fort Worth Toros back to the south. They host D.C. and then pick up Alamo City in week 2 before a week 3 bye before their game at Carolina. They've got London, Mexico City, and Baltimore back to back, week 7, 9, and 10. You do slip a little bye in there, but no question, Fort Worth's difficult part of the season is right there smack in the middle.
I tell you what, Fort Worth, they flipped the switch after a bye week last season. I can't remember at what point. I don't know if it was week 6 or so, but these guys flipped the switch. They turned Marcus Dunhill loose, and they were pretty much unbeatable down the stretch last season. Cam, Houston was fortunate enough to beat them in week 14 and get into the playoffs, but Fort Worth, they really figured some things out last season. GZ Bacon, as of right now, he's going to be taking over. Jay-Z Bacon. Why I call him Jeezy, but Jay-Z Bacon taking over the running back duties from Jason Williams full time.
It ain't Jeezy being cheesy. I messed up my own joke. Go ahead. That was not totally not worth the interruption. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah. Leave that to the pros, Cam. Let's not try to interject any Cam Irvine humor here. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he feels those shoes over there, and if they're going to keep with the kind of the strategy that they did last season of cutting Marcus Dunhill loose and letting him throw downfield and getting Stephen Hacker and Cade Stevens involved and see if they can open things up and really give some teams some problems throwing downfield this coming season.
Last but not least, the Denver Nightwings. I think that wraps it up for us. Denver goes to Motor City for the first time. They host Arizona and Canton before a bye, so just one road game in the first 4 for those Nightwings. We'll see if we get any kind of snow in those early games. It's always nice to see Richard Snow Memorial in a winter wonderland before they go to another winter wonderland at Queen City, week 5, at London, week 6, and Baltimore, D.C. back-to-back, but at least they get them after a bye. Your thoughts on Denver's schedule?
Yeah, obviously, the first thing that stands out on the roster is who's going to be the signal caller for this team next season. But Denver, that was another one of those teams, Cam. We haven't seen them, make any noise in the playoffs the past couple of seasons. They've kind of struggled a little bit, bringing it, Price and O'Shaughnessy. They were rookies, trying to get, their footing back under them after winning the championship and, having to adjust. Is this going to be the season that Denver finally gets back to the playoffs, maybe make some noise, gets a couple of wins or two, under their belt, possibly contend for that West Division championship again. And it'll be good to see the Night Wings back and in contention where it seems like they typically should be.
So that's it. All 178 matchups on the SFL Season 20 anniversary schedule. It all begins Thursday, January 12th with Alamo City and Baltimore. Your final thoughts before we say goodnight to the folks, and watch free agency wrap up. Watch the SFLM playoff shakeout and get to the draft December 17th.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the draft over here in Houston. At least we got a couple of draft picks that we need to make, but hoping we think we have the roster right now for us. Signing a good majority of our guys back, and looking forward to one or two more names to come across that free agent wire. One big one for sure that we're waiting on, and hopefully we'll get that solidified. But we're looking forward to the draft. For sure as our next step, and then looking forward to some changes that we may make offensively a little bit. We're not going to give up and defensively as well. We're not going to give up too many trade secrets here, but we're looking forward to that personally. But in general, man, like I said, I'm so excited for season 20 just as a whole. Looking for and wishing all the teams in the league nothing but success, and hopefully all you guys have a successful season as well, whether it's on the field, off the field, whichever, man. But good luck to everybody, and going to be really looking forward to calling all you guys games on Monday nights. That's going to be a pleasure to do that, and looking forward to seeing you guys in mid to late January, whenever we get kicked off.
Must see TV Thursday, January 12th. Can Mike St. Green hang with my intensity for opening night? We will find out, and really looking forward to that. I thought you were turning into Eddie Gage there for a second. The Houston was drawing up, but you turned it around. You turned it around. You're a professional. It's an awesome job. Thanks to everyone tonight for making the Super Chat debut a success tonight. Very much appreciate all of you out there. And don't forget that all season long, your favorite broadcasters, if you want to just send them some love, you can. And it's a good way to show appreciation. We need a little bit more kindness in life, right, Mike? Matt Wilson said, always choose happy. We're going to try to do that more in season 20, right?
Yeah. No doubt about it, Cam. Always choose happy, always be positive when you can. I know sometimes you can't be, but hey, man, always choose positive, always choose happy. Those are definitely great words to go by. And man, like I said, just looking forward to everything that season 20 has to offer.
We'll see you for the draft. We'll see you for the minor league playoffs. We'll see you for opening night and everything in between. For Mike St. Green, I'm Cameron Irvine. This has been a presentation of the Simulation Football League presented by APM Music, and everyone, have a great evening.